Hi, my name is EmmaCarrol. I just turned 20 not too long ago. I'm originally from the Bahamas. I'd like to tell you guys a little bit about my story and my journey coming to Christ. The Bahamas is considered a Christian nation, and that was very hard for me because my parents are atheists and I grew up in an atheist household. I never went to church. I never participated in anything like that. And I guess I was very different compared to all of my friends as growing up. I went to a private Anglican school. I learned religious studies in high school and all that. And as I grew up and I became more bold and more myself, and my friends found out that I was an atheist, I actually ended up losing a lot of my friends. I lost my current boyfriend at the time. And I honestly grew scared of Christians. I grew scared of God because I didn't want to be associated with people who made me feel scared and ashamed and distant. After I graduated high school, I went on a student exchange program to Bolivia, and I was put with a host family who was very Catholic. They had prayer nights in their house almost every week. They went to church at least once, maybe 2 or 3 times a week, and they brought me with me, and I participated in all of those, which, as you can imagine, was very strange for me, as I never was around anything like that ever. And I remember specifically being in church within my first month there, and my host mom would always be crying, and my host sisters would always get very emotional. I remember sitting there thinking, I don't get it. Why are you guys so upset? I didn't understand Spanish at the time, so I was just sitting there I don't know what's going on. I don't know what they're talking about. And the more and more I went, the more and more I began to understand. I remember sitting there and just bawling in church one time. I didn't know why. I still didn't know what they were talking about, but I just felt something come over me. I just, it's so awkward to explain, but I honestly felt this weight in my chest, and I could not control myself. I was just crying and crying, and pretty much every time I went to church after that with them, I was just so emotional. But yeah, I didn't talk to anyone about it. I didn't know how to explain myself, and I didn't want to explain myself because anytime I did before, people would just shut me down, and I would be rejected, or they wouldn't believe me when I said that I had questions about God, or I was beginning to believe in them. And so that was very hard for me, just this struggle, this internal battle of, I feel something, I don't know what it is, but I'm too scared to ask about what it is. Luckily, when I came to Troy, when I started university here in the spring of 2018, and I started going to Troy Church, I was able to learn a little bit more. I was able to go to church because I wanted to. I was able to go and not have people question me on why I was going or what changed. I was just able to go. I went to Beach Project this past summer, where I can't even, if I started listing names of the people who just impacted my life, I would be here for probably 2 hours. And I remember sitting with Abby Mills, who was my room leader at the time, during one of our one-on-ones on her bed. I remember I was explaining something, can't remember which story it was now, but I remember explaining something and describing what I thought it meant, and she just stopped me and she was like, "Emma, are you a Christian?" And we just started bawling. I hadn't said anything, but we just started crying, and I was just I shook my head, and she was like, "No, Emma, say it." And I shook my head again, and I was so scared to admit it because of all that previous trauma of, I did not think I was going to get emotional, but of all that previous trauma of people just not believing me when I had questions. And I finally said it. I said it out loud. Yes, I'm a Christian. It wasn't in that moment that I realized it. It was just in that moment that I was finally able to say it out loud and be comforted by people. And the whole reason why I want to get baptized is because I'm not scared to say it anymore. I'm not scared to proclaim. I'm not scared to proclaim my faith to people, even if my parents think different of me, or my friends back home still don't believe me. I can do this for me, and I can finally just say it out loud. Like, I can say it and I can have people hear me, and I can just be bold and brave in that and trust in that, because it's true and it's part of who I am now. Even though I'm still what they would consider a baby Christian, it's still just so important to me, and I'm just glad that I can be here around people that I know that love me and care for me and do this finally.